Hello, citizens, and welcome back. We're at a new Premier League season. We're on the eve of it. We are back for we're back for the season now. No more breaks or anything like that. We're jumping straight into it. It's our first match preview, so hit like, hit subscribe. Let's jump into it. So, so we got Wolves away, first game of the season, and it is a tough one. I think a lot's going to be made of where City are right now. If we can hold it without De Bruyne, will Foden come into form this season? How fit can Rodri get? Is he just going to suffer from injuries all the way through? I know he's going to be out till after the September national break. But, there's questions all over the place for me. It's not more about them. I know there's transfer rooms as well. There's still news that Ederson might go out and Donnarumma come in, which I think would be actually really good for us because I think we need a full-on goalkeeper. I'm sick of watching every shot on target going goal. I'm sick of it. And he had one good period towards the end of the treble win. After Christmas in that period, I thought Ederson was fantastic, but he's not a goalkeeper. He's absolute garbage for most of the time. So I do think we need a proper goalkeeper. And if you look at other teams as well, they've got proper goalkeepers and they've got, people who can play with the ball, but also can use their hands effectively like keepers should be able to. We've just signed Trafford in for 30 million. I'm not really sure where he's going to fit in. If we're just signing him to get rid of Ederson and then bringing Donnarumma, I don't really understand that one. It looks like we've just signed him so no one else can have him, which is bizarre. And it's not the way we should go about things. It's not cost effective. It's not cost effective to get rid of our youngsters and then just buy them back a few years later for treble what we let them go. But look, defensively, who's going to start? Who's going to start right back? And I've been through this a few times as well. I think we should go with a strong back four. And by strong back four, I mean just sticking like 4 centre halves, across the back four, like we did with the end of the treble season. When we had Ake, we had Ake, Akanji, Diaz, and Stones it was. Why not do something similar like that? A solid back four who are nice and strong, who all can win headers, who can defend us from crosses as well. Yeah, they're not the fastest, but it's a good, solid back four. And I think playing with a back four like that would require us to sit back a little bit. And I know Pep doesn't like that, but inviting teams onto us and us breaking on them is much more effective for us and for players like Haaland, who will thrive in that environment more so than us holding the ball for 95% of the game just for them to counter us with one long ball over the top. I'm kind of sick of that because that's another reason why Ederson lets in a lot of goals is because he's so often left 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 and things like that. It's got to stop. It's absolute nonsense. But I think he's more realistically, he's probably going to go Aït-Nouri at left back, and then it's going to be Diaz and Guardiola in the middle because he was working with that towards the end of last season. And at right back, he's probably going to be Nunes. I think maybe Lewis might start there, but I don't think defensively he's good enough, and I think he will have to make changes. I know on the ball it's very good for us, and I think going forward, Lewis is quite capable, and he lacks a bit of end product for me. His shooting is a little bit erratic when he gets to the edge of the box, so his passing and his shooting and his crossing is just a little bit all over the place. He needs to have a measured head when he gets in the areas because I think the blood just starts pumping through his heart, and the adrenaline just sends him nuts, and that's why he blazes it over the bar a lot or hits the crossbar from 4 yards out. So he might start with Lewis at right back with the other three, and of course Ederson in goal. But I'd put Kusanov in there. Kusanov for me, he's got the ability there to be our best defender. For me, Kusanov has to start, but for some reason Pep absolutely despises the kid. Not really sure why. See, you're still putting him in all their promotional images. He's always the first picture, he was the first person I saw when we were promoting that new kit they just launched. Or they just announced, Kusanov was in the first image of that when you're scrolling through on Instagram. He's in every video, he's in every snapshot pretty much. So they're still getting, Uzbekistan fans in there. But they're not playing him. So he's got to be more than a marketing ploy. He's got to play as well, because like I said, he is good enough as well. Midfield, that's another problem area for us. Who's he going to start? When I'm making my fantasy Premier League team, I was like, do I put Shirky in and Reinders? Because Reinders is 5.5 million on the Premier League fantasy team, which is phenomenal. I put him straight in there. Because I think he will probably start every game, but I don't think he'll play both of them together unless we really need to, unless we're pushing for 2 goals in the last 5 minutes. But I've also seen with Pep over the years, when we had Alvarez, he'd bring him on, we'd be 1-0 down or something like that, and he'd bring Alvarez on in the 90th minute instead of making a change 30 minutes earlier. Pep always does crap like that. He likes to make changes to defence rather than the forwards for some reason. He'll change 2 centre-halves and leave the front line as it is, even though nothing's happening. So I don't think Shirky and Reinders are going to play together, particularly at the beginning. Who else is in there? Gundogan is an everstay, isn't he? But when Pep's managing and Gundogan's in there, he seems to play every single game. Foden, where's he going to fit? Is he going to stick him on the right-hand side where he's best used, or is he going to stick him in the middle and he's going to take over De Bruyne's role, which I think he probably should do that. I think putting him in that number 10, I think that's a great idea. With Reinders alongside him as well, I think that's honestly a really good midfield. And you stick Kovacic in there as a set midfielder when Rodri's out. Solid. Right-hand side, left-hand side, is Doku going to play? Savinho going to play? Of course, Haaland's going to be up front as well. I just think for Pep, he buys these quick plays, then he doesn't use them. He doesn't want to use two wingers, two traditional wingers. He plays them inverted as well, of course. That's his thing. I know a lot of teams do inverted. I think every right-sided midfielder in the Premier League's inverted. But I just switch him on the more natural side. I think that way you get more crosses into Haaland, who's our most dangerous man, of course. Haaland's the one that's going to score the goals. Doku ain't going to score 20 goals this season. Savinho isn't going to score 20 goals this season. Neither of them are capable of doing it. They haven't got that end product. They might throw in a good cross every now and then or get past their man 4 or 5 times a game. But 3 out of those 5 crosses are going out play or to a defender. So their end product has been dreadful since they've come in. They've not really improved. So Haaland's the one going to get the goals. So put them on a more natural side so you can get crosses in quicker. Because so many times we break on teams, which is, well, I say so many times, it's rare that we manage to break on someone because they sit back on us. But when we do break, we get to the edge of the box and what do? Well, our wingers are inverted, so they have to cut back. They have to slow the game down to try and get a cross in, or go backwards to get someone else, put a cross in or something like that. Stop slowing the game down. Teams don't slow the game down on us. That's why we got beat in the FA Cup final, because Crystal Palace just go, cross, bang. Liverpool, that's all they do. Arsenal, that's all they do. It's 1 touch, 2 touch. It's get crosses in quickly, create more chances and get your shot away. For us, it's how many times we can pass sideways. It's so boring, so dull. And it's no longer boring the opposition team because they know they just let us have it for 95% of the game. So there's a lot of questions that Pep needs to answer, and I'm not really sure he's going to be able to do that. And early on as well, I'm so sick of him making... Do you know what, as well as a solid back four, do you know what else wins you Premier Leagues? Keeping the same 11. Keep a basic team and just rotate players out when they need to rest or when they're injured or booked or sent off or whatever. Play your normal 11, get that sorted, and then just rotate players in as you need them. It's ridiculous how many changes they make from game to game. Letting Doku play well one game like he did, I think it was against Forest last season. He played really well in a game. Then he takes him out the next game. Then he plays him the next. Then he takes him out. And it's like that with everyone. He does that with the defence. Stop rotating players so much. It's ridiculous. Keep a solid 11. Like I said, just rotate players as you need. Another thing we need to talk about, players that we keep getting rid of. Why has he got rid of Grealish? I know he wasn't playing him, but he should be playing him. A treble-winning player right there. De Bruyne, treble-winning player. Both gone. So 2 most important players in the last 3 years, gone. Foden, treble-winning player. He lacked whatever it was last season. I'm sorry about the light as well. The sun is very bright, I know. But when Foden's not firing as well, it makes it even worse. So things have to... I don't know. Things have to change. I'm sick of our transfer policy. If we'd kept hold of Palmer as well, how much better would we be right now? We'd have that number 10 absolutely sold, and he'd probably still play him on the right wing every 3 games, So Pep needs to get that in his head as well. That he just needs to stop offloading players or stop changing players' positions. Just, oh man, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's just so frustrating. But the early game is Wolves away. The 11 I've just said what I would play. Well, actually, I didn't say the wingers. I think it's more likely to play Bernardo on the right-hand side. With Foden in the middle, if he plays at all. And then the left-hand side is probably going to be Doku. Because who else have we got on that left-hand side? Unless he puts Savinho on there. And I think that's the 11 we go with. Is that team capable of beating Wolves? Of course it is. But we know how Wolves are going to play. They're going to be difficult to break down. They're going to counter really, really well. They can do that. They've got players that can hurt you on the counter as well. They've got a bit of pace up there, a bit of creativity. It's going to be a tough game, and they're going to be well up for it. First game of the season at their ground. It's going to be tough. And it doesn't get any easier for us. We're going to be playing Tottenham at our ground the week after. They've got a better manager now in Frank. I think he's a fantastic manager. I watched them against PSG. They're solid. They're very Spursy towards the end, but I still think they played really well. They probably deserve to win that game. When Spurs come to our ground the following week, they probably will beat us. And it's not going to be one of these 3-2 games, 4-3 games like we love against them. It's going to be a nice solid 2-0 to Tottenham, probably. And we can't afford a slow start either, because Arsenal are going to get off to a good start. Liverpool are probably going to get off to a good start. And they've got new strikers in. They've got new forwards in. It's going to be absolutely devastating. If we lose or we don't pick up maximum points in the first 3-4 games, we could be very far behind and already out the title race. That's how it's going to be this season. We're massive underdogs. for the first time in years, we're not going in as favourites, and rightly so, because we have so many issues. And I think Pep's going to rotate too much. I don't think he's going to know his starting 11, which is a problem at this time of the year. 2 days before the Premier League season, he needs to know it. And that's why I don't put in City players in the fantasy team, because I have no idea what Pep's going to do. And that's about it. That's the match preview. It's a bit of a rambling on. Not really much to talk about. But we'll know more after the Wolves game, and we'll know more when I'm doing the match reaction. I'm going to be in Scotland now for a week. Great time, so I'm not going to be around to do a watch along. I'm also not going to be going to the Tottenham game next week, which is a shame. But I'll try and do a match reaction on my phone, because I'm going to be in the Highlands. I'm going to be in Loch Ness. So maybe you'll get a nice view. I don't know. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thanks for sticking with me through the summer. I know posts are very infrequent in there, but I needed some time off as well. I've got other things going on. Of course, I pay the bills somehow, need to do a job. So yeah, thank you very much. But yeah, we're back. Bye-bye.